Mikhail Khodorkovsky used to own Yukos Oil. He is waiting to hear his fate, but he's still got over a month to go before that decision is going to be handed down. Now, the verdict lies in the hands of one judge who could free him or condemn him to 6 more years. Now, he has become a focal point for liberal dissent in Russia and critical opposition abroad. Vast wealth and increasing political influence led to his arrest in 2003. Well, that came after a very public falling out with then-President Vladimir Putin. So what might the world have to say if he is released, and what might he have to say to the world? Well, to tell us, I'm joined by a man who has been writing about this situation, the CF Trading's Julian Rimmer. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a very interesting story and one that many people have been following. The situation right now is that that he's awaiting to hear what's going to happen next.
Correct. The decision will be handed down on the, I think, the 15th of December. So he's currently serving a sentence of 8 years, and the prosecutors have asked for another 6 years.
Now, why has he become such a cause célèbre, both in Russia and abroad?
Well, I think it's a fascinating plot. The downfall of a once powerful man is something I think people find compelling, and also Mikhail Khodorkovsky he's a very articulate man, and of course he was a very wealthy man. So he has been able to generate a huge PR offensive against the Russian regime, even while he's been behind bars, and groups affiliated with Yukos have of course maintained this pressure upon the government. And I think, if anything, it's only likely to be intensified regardless of whatever is the outcome on December the 15th. Now,
in the article that you've written, you talk about this being a Mandela moment for Russia, and yet Khodorkovsky and Nelson Mandela don't really share very many similar traits, if you will. Why do you think that this is so important for Russia?
I think it's important to make it very clear they're two very different people with obviously radically different agenda. Obviously, Mr. Mandela was fighting against an oppressive and racist regime, whereas Khodorkovsky, his main cause was personal enrichment. But I think what happened with Mandela, with the South African government, is he started off as a nuisance, then he became an embarrassment, and then gradually over a period of time he became this huge suppurating wound that could not be healed without compromise. And I think the dilemma or the quandary in which the Russians find themselves right now is that with Khodorkovsky, if they sentence him to another 6 years, it's likely to elevate his status, and he's going to become even more of a symbol for maybe something he never thought he'd stand for originally, but he has become a symbol for the liberal opposition. And more importantly, he's a stick with which international critics can beat Russia, and indeed, rightly or wrongly.
Indeed, foreign investors must be looking at this and what happens in this case as a kind of barometer as to where Russia is right now. Yeah,
I think it's hugely important for financial investors in Russia at the moment, because it comes at a critical juncture. Next year we'll start warming up for the presidential campaign in 2012. Russia also outlined a month ago a fairly ambitious $50 billion privatization program over the next few years, including selling down a further stake in Rosneft, which of course contains many of the sequestered Yukos assets. And of course there's the small matter of the World Cup, which Russia is bidding to host in 2018. And I think at this particular moment, Russia has to be very careful how it plays its cards internationally.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We will watch the case with interest. Please come back and talk to us again.
You're welcome.